It's 10 o'clock at night, you're not even hungry. You ate dinner an hour ago, but you're standing in front of the fridge anyway, door wide open, staring at the leftovers, not because your stomach needs anything, but because your brain won't shut up. Leftovers, chips, chocolate, something crunchy, something sweet. The thought just keeps circling back over and over again. Even when you are trying to watch something or even when you're trying to sleep, that is food noise. And if you have struggled with your weight for any length of time, I would be willing to bet that description of food noise may sound very familiar to you. Now imagine waking up one day and that food noise is just gone, not silenced by willpower, not suppressed by some diet, just genuinely quieter. Like someone turned the volume down on a radio that's been blaring in your head for many years. That is one of the most common and most surprising things people report when they start GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound, or Mounjaro. And today I want to explain what's actually happening when that occurs, what food noise is, where it comes from, what GLP-1 medications do to the food noise in brain, and why understanding this completely changes how we think about weight and willpower. Hi, I'm Dr. Bazgha Khalid. I'm a board certified internal medicine and obesity medicine specialist. And this is one of my favorite topics in all of medicine right now. So let's start with the basics. Food noise is not a medical textbook term. It's a phrase that emerged from patient communities, people describing their lived experiences, and it's caught on because it's so accurate. Food noise is the persistent, intrusive mental chatter about food that occupies your brain even when you don't need to eat. It's thinking about your next meal while you're still finishing your current one. It's the craving that pops in your head mid meeting for no reason. It's the loop that starts at 3 p.m. and doesn't stop until you have eaten something. It's the voice that says, just one more, when you've already had enough, the one that overrides the rational part of your brain saying, you're actually fine. And here's what I want to be very clear about, because this matters. Food noise is not a lack of willpower. It is not a weakness. It is not a character flaw. It's biology. It is your brain's reward and survival systems doing exactly what they evolved to do. In a word that is completely hijacked by food environments designed to exploit those exact reward systems. The food industry has spent billions of dollars engineering products specifically to generate and perpetuate food noise. They know exactly what they're doing, and for some people, particularly those with a genetic predisposition to obesity, this system is cranked up even higher. The food noise is louder, more persistent, more overwhelming. So when I hear people say they just need more discipline, I want to say you don't need more discipline. You need a quieter brain. And now we have a way to get there. But before we get to that, let me show you what's actually generating the food noise because the physiology is fascinating. Let's understand where food noise comes from. Deep inside our brain is a small region called the hypothalamus. Think of it as the hunger control center. It receives signals from all over our body, from our gut, from fat cells, from bloodstream, and it uses all of that information to decide, are we hungry or are we full? Should we seek food or should we stop? In a well-functioning system, this works beautifully. You eat, your gut sends signals, your fat cells send leptin, a fullness hormone. Your hypothalamus gets the message and dials down the urge to eat. In people with obesity, and this is not a moral failing, it is a documented biological reality. This system is often dysregulated. Leptin resistance, ghrelin dysregulation, the signals aren't being received properly. So the hypothalamus keeps sending out the hunger alarm even when the body has had enough. And then there is the second player, and this is where food noise really lives. The nucleus accumbens is your brain's reward and pleasure center. It's the same region that responds to music, to love, to achievements, and yes, to drugs and alcohol as well. It runs on dopamine, and when you eat something delicious, especially something sugary, fatty, salty, or ultra processed, dopamine floods this region. Your brain lights up and it says, remember this, do this again. That's the food reward system. And in many people, especially those who grew up around highly palatable food, this system has become so sensitized that mere thought of certain foods, just imagining them, just seeing them on a screen, triggers a dopamine anticipation signal. That anticipation signal, that's food noise. It's your brain pre-firing the reward circuit before you have even had a bite, pulling your attention toward food, creating cravings from inside your own head. And then there's the third player, the prefrontal cortex, the rational, logical, and planning part of your brain. This is the part that says you've had enough, or you are not actually hungry, or you decided you weren't going to do this tonight. When the reward system is quiet, the prefrontal cortex can do its job. It can reason, it can override impulse, and it can stick to a plan. But when the reward system is blaring, when the food noise is loud, and the prefrontal cortex gets overwhelmed, it's like trying to have a quiet conversation at a loud concert. This is why willpower fails. Not because willpower is weak, because the food noise is too loud to hear the reasonable voice underneath it. Now, let me tell you what GLP-1 medications do to all three of these systems. GLP-1 medications like Semaglutide, which is the active ingredient for Wegovy and Ozempic, and Tirzepatide, which is the active ingredient for Zepbound and Mounjaro, were originally developed to treat type 2 diabetes. The dramatic weight loss was almost a surprise. But when researchers looked deeper at why the weight loss was so significant, they found something remarkable. These medications weren't just reducing appetite in the way old-fashioned appetite suppressants did, by creating a vague feeling of fullness. They were actually working directly on the brain, on the exact circuits that generate food noise. GLP-1 receptors, the biological docking stations that the medication attaches to, are present throughout the hypothalamus. When the medication activates them, it essentially turns down the hunger alarm. It recalibrates the thermostat. The signal that was constantly saying eat more, get food, stay alert to food opportunities gets quieter. People don't just eat less because they are nauseous. Many people report simply not thinking about food as much, not obsessing, not planning the next meal while eating the current one. And here's the part that genuinely excites me as a clinician. GLP-1 receptors are also present in the nucleus accumbens, the reward center. And when GLP-1 medications activate those receptors, they appear to dampen the dopamine response to highly palatable food. That means the reward value of food, the this is amazing, I need more of this signal, gets dialed down. The pull toward ultra processed, hyper palatable food becomes weaker. When the hunger thermostat is recalibrated and the reward pull is dampened, something else happens. The rational brain can be heard again. People report making food choices more consciously, stopping when they are actually full instead of when the plate is empty, choosing meals based on what their body needs rather than what their cravings are demanding. This is what patients mean when they say the medication changed their relationship with food. It's not metaphorical. It is a literal change in the neural circuits that govern food-related behavior. Let me stop and ask you something. If you are on a GLP-1 medication, have you noticed a change in your food noise? And if you're not on one yet, can you relate to what I just described at the start? The open fridge at 10 p.m. or the food noise loop that won't stop? Let me know in the comments. Let me give you a few key pieces of evidence that anchor all of this information and real science. In the landmark Step 1 trial, the main phase 3 trial of semaglutide 2.4 mg, participants were assessed not just for weight and metabolic outcomes, but for psychological outcomes too, including hunger, appetite, and food cravings. The results showed significant reduction in subjective hunger ratings food cravings, and eating behavior scores compared to placebo. Patients weren't just eating less, they reported wanting food less. The 2021 study published in Obesity used brain imaging, functional MRIs, to look at what happens in the brains of patients taking semaglutide. They found a reduced activation in brain regions associated with food cue reactivity. In plain English, the brain was responding less strongly to images and thoughts of food. The pull was physically weaker. And emerging research on tirzepatide, the active ingredient in Mounjaro and Zepbound, suggests that its dual action on both the GLP-1 and GIP receptors may produce an even more pronounced dampening of the reward response, which aligns with why tirzepatide tends to produce somewhat greater weight loss than Ozempic and Wegovy. Researchers at the National Institute of Health have described GLP-1 receptor agonists as potentially the first medications that directly address the hedonic or pleasure-based component of eating, not just the homeostatic or hunger-based component. That is a genuinely historic development in obesity medicine, and it's the mechanism behind what patients call food noise reduction. Let's talk about how to use the QOIT, the three-step practical guidance on GLP-1 medications. Okay, so the food noise is quieter. What do you actually do with that? Because this window, this period of reduced food noise on GLP-1 medications is one of the most valuable opportunities in the entire treatment journey. And I see too many people let it slip by without making the most of it. Step number one, use the QOIT to notice real hunger versus habit hunger. For many people, especially those who have struggled with food noise for many years, they have never really learned what actual physical hunger feels like because the noise was always there, drowning out genuinely body signals. Now that it is quieter on GLP-1 medication, this is your best opportunity to pay attention. Notice when your stomach actually signals hunger. Notice what it feels like when you are truly full. You're rebuilding your body's ability to communicate with your brain about food, a skill that may have been disrupted for many years. Step number two, use the QOIT to build new eating patterns. Habits are built through repetition in low resistance states. Right now, while the food noise is down on GLP-1 medications and the pull toward hyper palatable food is weaker, this is the single best time to build better eating habits. Protein first at every meal, cooking a real meal instead of reaching for a packet, sitting at a table, eating without your phone. These might have felt impossible when the noise was deafening. Right now, they're achievable. Do them now. Repetition builds the neural pathways, the habit forms. You are literally rebuilding your relationship with food in real time. Use this window. Step number three, use the QOIT to address the emotional layers. When the food noise reduces and you're no longer using food to manage emotions, stress, boredom, loneliness, anxiety, you suddenly have to sit with those emotions more directly. For some people, this is a relief. For others, it brings up things they weren't expecting. I've had patients tell me that starting a GLP-1 medication was a thing that finally made them realize they needed to address their relationship with food on a psychological level, not just a physical one. Therapy, coaching, support groups, these can be extraordinarily valuable alongside the medication. If that resonates with you, please don't dismiss it. The medication can quiet the biological noise, but the emotional layer is yours to walk through, and you deserve support for that. People who struggled with food noise were told it was their fault. Too much temptation, not enough self control. They just needed to try harder. And what this research is now showing, what these medications are now demonstrating by their very mechanism, is that food noise is a biological phenomenon. It's not a personal failing, it's a dysregulated neurological system. And in many cases, it's a system that was dysregulated by genetics, by the early food environment, by stress, by a food industry that deliberately engineered products to create and exploit it. GLP-1 medications are, among the many other things, a form of vindication for everyone who ever felt ashamed about their relationship with food. You weren't weak, the food noise was just too loud, and now we have a way to turn it down. GLP-1 medications work directly on those systems, on the hypothalamus, on the reward center, giving the rational brain a chance to be heard again. And that quiet window is most valuable opportunities in treatment. And if you use it wisely, build habits, reconnect with real hunger, address the emotional layers, eat with intention, not just less, then it can help transform your health. If this video helped you understand something about yourself that you didn't have words for before, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because food noise shame is still very real. And the information is how we dismantle it. Hit like if this video was helpful. Subscribe for more honest medical content about weight and metabolic health. Stay happy, healthy, and well. Bye for now.